So when I first took the plunge into renting out my vehicles, I was super excited. And just to give you guys an idea for those of you that are new, got started with my very first car, rented it out to one of my friends for a few weeks. I was like, oh, this is great, made a little bit of money. After that, I went with the plan that I originally had, which is that, okay, gonna put this car on Turo. 7 days go by, no bookings. So now that really made me do a deep dive into the whole process, that it's like, okay, what does make a car rent? What are the key determining factors that Turo looks at when it comes to pushing your vehicle up in their algorithm? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. So let's talk about some of the common things or mistakes that people miss in regards to when they're listing the vehicle. And the very first one is going to be overpricing your vehicle. Now, there are a lot of hosts that they put their car on. They don't do a lot of market research. Let's say they have an Escalade that's in Miami. They go on Turo, they see, oh, wow, there are some people that are renting this car out for $300 to $400 a day. But the problem is they don't do the research to see, is that car actually renting for $300 to $400 a day? Now, if it's not, then you put it on there for $300 to $400. Now your car's not renting. So that's why I'm a big proponent of, before you put that car on, make sure you do research in your area. Not only for, is that car listed, but also, is it actually being rented? Now, to touch on something that's a little bit new with Turo, which is the dynamic pricing model, which is essentially where Turo will, quote unquote, automatically set your price to give you the highest amount of money and the most amount of rentals. There is something for you guys to look into where you can adjust the price on a daily basis. I would recommend that so you can get the maximum amount for your car and that your car stays rented, because you don't want it to be that, let's say you have a Model 3 Tesla, you know it can rent out for between 50 to 80 bucks a day, and then the car only rents out for $20 or $30. Just want to make sure that it's something you're staying on top of. Now, next thing that I want to touch on is poor vehicle presentation. What does this mean specifically? First thing I want to touch on is the pictures. Or when you list a vehicle, I'll use the example of an Escalade again. The things that you don't want to do, you don't want to go online and pull stock images of the car and put that as your profile pictures for it. You don't want to use pictures from whatever dealership that you got. Don't want to use those pictures. You want to make sure that you're using the pictures that you took on your phone or a camera, and those are the ones that you want to upload. My reasoning behind this is that we know that the algorithm favors pictures that are more so of those organic pictures, right? That were taken from you specifically. Now, another thing when you're taking pictures is you want to make sure, we typically say to stand about 10 to 15 feet back from the vehicle, because when you upload these pictures onto Turo, it automatically zooms in on them. Now, you don't want it to be where you take a picture of, you're standing away, let's say you're standing 5 feet away, you take a picture of the front of the car, and all your guest really sees is the hood and a little bit of the windshield. People are not going to rent your car if that's the point, and Turo's going to push it down in the algorithm. So the other thing in reference to vehicle presentation that I want to talk about that people often miss is the vehicle descriptions. You have to make sure that your vehicle is adequately described, that it has all of the major features that the vehicle has to offer, right? So if it's a 4-wheel drive car, if it has Apple Play, if it has Bluetooth, you want to make sure that you put all that into the description and then into the feature section that's in Turo. Now, another big mistake that people make when first starting out is ignoring customer communication. Now, for those of you that have been on this channel, you know that we're a big fan of setting up the automated messages and those things to help your business. But if a guest asks you a question, I always recommend answering, especially when you're starting out. Because let's say that guest asks you a simple question. Hey, I know it says that that you want the car returned with a full tank of gas, but I'm running to the airport and I don't really have time. I put a half tank in it though. Is that okay? You don't answer that message. Now that guest, they're sitting on the plane. They go on their phone and they're like, wow, that Peter never answered me about how much gas to put into the car. I'm going to give him 4 stars. I mean, his car was great and everything, but I mean, what kind of business owner doesn't answer a message when somebody else sends it? Keep in mind, this is a person, they've never had a business, so they're thinking about it like that, which is exactly why you need to respond to messages so you can avoid pitfalls of that nature. You don't want negative reviews and people reporting you to Turo for not answering, because all that does at the end of the day is that it hurts your standing with Turo, and the worse that your reviews are, it makes it harder to get the all-star host status, the power host status. So you want to make sure that you're answering your guests. Now, next thing here is that people typically miss, that's a common mistake, is that you want to make sure that you understand Turo's policies and procedures. I'm going to highlight a few of them. The first one is that if you're on this channel, I know you're a host that's looking to grow this into a big time business. A big part of Turo's policy, hire car, get around, is that when you have one car that's on their platform, it cannot also be listed on another platform at the same time. If they find out that you're doing this, they can then ban you from the platform. Now, let me ask you this. Is it worth it for you to lose one of these platforms to, let's say for an economy type vehicle, let's go with a Chevy Trax. Is it worth it for you to make an extra, say, $300 to $400 a month when the risk is getting banned on one of those platforms forever? Personally, I don't think so, because platforms are a major income stream, so I wouldn't do it. But that's something you want to be aware of. Next thing you want to be aware of when you're getting started is what plan are you on when you're starting with Turo? When I say this, they have the different, essentially, splits. So there's a 60-40 split, there's an 80-20 split, there's a 90-10 split. These splits are going to determine a few things. First thing, pretty obvious, income split. So if it's 60-40, you get 60, Turo gets 40. The next big thing is this is going to determine how the insurance is going to cover your vehicle when something happens. So to give you an idea, you click the 60-40 split. I know there specifically that if your car gets into an accident, Turo will actually give you the loss of rental income. And you don't have to pay a deductible. As opposed to when you're on, say, the 80-20 split, okay, your car gets into an accident, you don't get that or you do have a deductible, but you don't get the loss of rental income, and you do have to pay a deductible. So make sure when you're starting out that you're prepared for this based on your risk tolerance, if you'd want to pay a deductible, and exactly what you're looking to get. Now, this is a big mistake that we typically see when people are starting out, and it's regarding vehicle maintenance. Most people that I'll see, they get started in the business, running the business, they don't put their vehicle on a maintenance schedule. They're just like, hey, it's like my personal car. When a light pops up, then I'll go and get it fixed and it'll be fine. You want to make sure that your Turo vehicles are on a schedule, because you don't want a guest to be in your car and the check engine lights on or the oil lights on. Now your guest is going to feel unsafe. And going back to the point that I made earlier, similar with communication, they feel unsafe. Oh, maybe you communicated great. Your car had that check engine light on. So by putting your vehicle on a regular maintenance schedule, and when I say this, make sure that you're getting new tires, new brakes, oil changes. When you're doing those things, then your car you won't have to deal with those issues as much as having the check engine light and all those other issues that might pop up. Now, next common mistake that I see people make is they don't prepare their vehicle to be rented. Now, I know this is going to sound really simple, but it's ultra important. When your car is getting ready to go out, so let's give a scenario, right? Say it's a 2019 Chevy Trax. It went out for a trip for 2 weeks. When that car comes back, you need to take the before and after pictures, inspect the vehicle, make sure there are no damages. Once you figure that out, okay, great. Next part, that car needs to be thoroughly clean. You gotta vacuum it, you gotta wipe it down. We typically use disinfectant wipes. If it needs a wash, you need to give it a wash. You need to make sure that that car is in the best shape possible, because let me tell you, it does make a big difference for reviews. And I know on our own profile, people leave these reviews all the time where they'll say like, oh wow, that car came back, it was in pristine condition, it was so clean, it had a new car smell. Let me tell you, none of the cars that we ever knew, but they can still have that new car smell if you clean them properly. You always want to make sure that that vehicle is prepared. And also on this point, so the first thing, you inspect the car when it comes back. Second thing, make sure the vehicle is clean. The third thing is now you need to take the before pictures for the car when it goes out. Make sure that you've verified everything that the guest has provided, the license and the information, how long the trip is going to be. Now the car is good to go, and you shouldn't have any issues with it. Now, the last one is not taking it, or common mistake that we see is people not taking advantage of some of these features that Turo's been offering. And I'll mention a few of them to you. One, Turo's tool system. They have a partnership with a couple different tool companies such as EasyPass, and I think SunPass is one of them, where you can connect your EasyPass account to Turo. That way, when somebody goes through a tool booth, it will automatically register it and attach it onto your guest's trip. So now instead of you having to, let's say somebody goes through a tool booth and you don't have this. Okay, now all you see is a charge on your account. You got to wait in the mail to get the statement. You look at the statement, you're like, okay, this was the transaction date. When was the actual date that the person was renting it? Okay, it was this. Okay, now I have to think, all right, that was Jimmy that had the car on that date. Let me go over and say, okay, Jimmy, now you have to upload that statement onto Turo and look at the exact amount to see how much the Jimmy should be charged. That might take you 10 or 15 minutes just to do that for one person or one transaction. How nice is it that Turo has a feature that automatically does all that for you? All you have to do is click the little OK button. Oh yeah, was this on this date, this much money? Boom, that makes it easy. Next thing, automated messaging. Life could be so easy for you, and I'll give you a scenario when you don't have it. So you don't have automated messaging. Okay, guest books a car. Every time you have to sit there on your phone, hey Jimmy, this is Peter with Elite Car Rental, so excited that you're renting out my vehicle. Hey, make sure that the car comes back with a full tank of gas, and here's exactly where you'll be picking up the vehicle. These are the hours that they're open. Do you really want to spend time always typing that out? Or let's say on the contrary, you're dynamic. You already have the message out and you just copy and paste it every time. But that's still, I mean, if somebody books at midnight in your sleep, you miss that message. Now, next thing you know, the guest gets in at 6 a.m. They're texting you, hey, how do I pick up the car? What's going on here? Now that guest might cancel the trip. You might lose out on rental income. So what you need to do is set it up in Turo's automated messaging system, where a message can go out to the person as soon as they book the trip, telling them exactly what they need to know, how to get the vehicle, what times they can pick it up. Makes it super easy for them and even easier for you. Now, to give you kind of a recap of everything that we went over. So we went over the overpricing your vehicle. You definitely don't want to do that. Make sure that you do the proper market research. You want to make sure that your vehicle presentation looks great. Don't make the common mistakes of taking the bad pictures and the short descriptions. Make sure that it's the best that it could be. Third, don't ignore your customers, please. All it's going to do is hurt your reviews. So make sure you're always answering. The fourth, understand Turo's policies, the insurance splits and the revenue splits, and how the insurance works before you get started. And as you're operating, because maybe as you're operating, maybe you started at the 80-20 and you want to move up to the 90-10 because things are going great. But before you do that, make sure that you understand everything that the 90-10 plan is going to offer based on the insurance and based off of the revenue split. Crucial that you understand that. 5, make sure that that vehicle maintenance is in good order. You have a maintenance schedule for your tires, for your brakes, for your oil, for general engine health. Make sure that it's something that's on a schedule. 6, always prepare your car for when it's going out. So remember the 3 things that we talked about. Inspect it when it comes back from a trip, clean the car, get it ready for the next trip. Next thing is not taking advantage of Turo's rental features. Don't make life harder for yourself. Use the automated messaging. Use the tool system if they have it for whatever tools in your state. Don't make life harder for you. So really that's in conclusion of the video. Now, I think this will really help you guys. Definitely watch it for somebody that's getting started or even somebody that's seasoned, because maybe you missed something like this. Thanks, and I'll see you guys on the next one.